Hi, this is Ritik, your biology subject matter expert from memoneet, and in this video, we will be discussing on body fluids and circulation. So we know that previously how actually circulation happens and what is the major role of circulation in respective to the breathing and exchange of the gases in our body. So we know that we inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, and cell utilizes the oxygen for their activity, and at the end they release out the carbon dioxide as a waste. That is what we understand. So with the help of blood, that is RBC. So in lower organisms or in the simple organisms, say like sponges and coleanterata, the circulation or they circulate water from the surrounding through the body cavity. So water circulation, it actually facilitates the exchange of nutrients, gases as well as waste. So transport in complex organisms. So वहां पर क्या होगा? They use a specific body fluid here for the material transport. So it could be transport or exchange of nutrients, gases, or even it could be the waste. Example, blood, which is more common in the higher organism, and we have lymph, which is gonna assist the transport of certain substances. So, focusing on this chapter, we will be learning the blood composition and its property, the lymph role in the transport, mechanism of blood circulation in detail. So, blood is a special connective tissues which has plasma formed element, whereas plasma, it has straw colored viscous fluid, constituents 55% of the total blood, which has water 90 to 92%, protein 6 to 8%, and those proteins includes fibrinogen, globulin, and albumins. See, this fibrinogen is essential for the blood clotting, and this globulin helps in functioning immune defense. Albumin maintains the osmotic balance, whereas it also consists some other components such as minerals, nutrients such as glucose, amino acids, and lipids, and coagulation factors, which are inactive mode. And when their role is very major and specific, it becomes active. And next we have serum. The plasma without clotting factor is actually called as serum. So coming to the formed elements here, it comprise 45% of the blood, includes RBC, then leukocytes and platelets. Coming to the erythrocytes, which is RBC, the most abundant blood cells counts 5 to 5.5 million RBC per millimeter cube of the blood in a healthy adult man. So its formation is actually procedure, like where it has been produced in the red bone marrow, and structure of the red blood cells is biconcave with absent in the nucleus is absent in most of the mammals, contain hemoglobin, a red colored iron containing complex protein, then provides the red coloration, helps in the transport of the respiratory organ. We have hemoglobin contained in an each individual will be having 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin per 100 ml of the blood in an healthy individual, and lifespan is 120 days, and old RBCs that have been destroyed in the spleen. Leukocytes, which is actually called as WBC here, so they are colorless due to the absence of the hemoglobin. Then the nucleated cells, that means nucleus is present, found in smaller number when compared to RBC, like 6,000 to 8,000, like WBC cells per millimeter cube of the blood, and generally they are short lived. So category, they have been divided into granulocytes and agranulocytes. Coming to granulocytes, it includes uh, neutrophils, then it also includes eosinophils and basophils. Neutrophils, they are the most abundant, 60 to 65% of the total WBC count, and phagocyte cells destroys the foreign organism. Eosinophils make up 2 to 3% of the WBC, resist the infection, and associated with the allergic reaction, where basophils are least abundant, that secretes the histamine, serotonin, heparin, and involved in the inflammatory response. Agranulocytes, they lack visible granules in their cytoplasm, includes granulocytes constituents 20 to 25% of the WBC. Then there are two types. One is B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. So in B lymphocytes, they are responsible for the humoral immunity, whereas T lymphocytes, it is responsible for cell-mediated immunity. Monocytes make up 6 to 8% of the WBC, and phagocytic cells, they engulf and destroy the phagocytes. Platelets, they are the thrombocytes. Characteristics, platelets are cell fragments. Origin, produced from the megakaryocytes, which is special cells in the bone marrow. Coming to its count, it is 1,50,000 to 3,50,000 platelets per millimeter cube of the blood. And major function is it releases the substance that are essential for the blood coagulation or blood clotting, and plays its major role in preventing excess blood loss during the injury. So disorders related to the platelets count, if the platelet counts is very less, what it causes? Thrombo cytopenia, which actually caused in the reduced platelet, a person will leads to clotting disorder, causes excessive bleeding. So coming to the AB blood grouping. So we have two blood grouping common. One is ABO blood grouping and RH factor. Okay, RH negative. So here, in coming to the ABO blood grouping system, it is determined by the presence or absence of two surface antigens, one is antigen A and antigen B on the RBC, where plasma contains two natural antibody. So blood consists of one is RBC and plasma WBC. So RBC should have two either it has to have presence or absence of two surface agents antigens, one is antigen A and antigen B, and plasma, it should contains two natural antibody, one is antibody A, and so anti A and anti B. Like anti A is and it is a antibody A is against antigen A, and anti B is against antigen B. So when I'm talking about a person is having a blood group, that means he should have what? Antigen A, and antibody he should have is antibody B. Like what happens? See, if a person has an antigen A and an antibody A, then obviously what happens? The antibody is gonna act on this antigen A. That's why if a person is having antigen A, then he should have antibody that is B. Same thing, if a person is having antigen B, then antibody should be A. Then it is B blood group. Same thing with A and B blood group. Now, antibody should be absent. Getting? So that means if it is an AB blood group, he will be having an antigen A and B where no antibody. And coming to universal, here you should not have any, antigen. So no antigen where you should have both antibody A and antibody B. Okay. So he is called as universal donor. Clear? So, blood transfusion compatibility is essential to prevent the clumping or destruction of the RBC. So universal donor having O blood group and universal recipient will be having AB group. So O blood group where no antigens will be present, AB group where no antibodies will be present. So next coming to the RH grouping. So based on the presence or absence of the RH antigen on the surface of the body, we have RH positive and RH negative. So positive presence of RH antigen found on 80% of the humans, where RH negative is absence of the RH antigen. Okay. So antibody formation, Rh negative individuals exposed to Rh positive blood developing antibodies against the Rh antigen, and importance in blood transfusion, like while blood transfusion or organ transfusion. So the Rh group must be matched before transfusion to prevent the immunoreaction. So special cases in related to the human is during the pregnancy. So we have scenarios where Rh negative mother carry the Rh positive fetus. In the first pregnancy, the fetal and the maternal bloods are separated by the placenta so that usually no mixing takes place. Then, when during the delivery, what happens? The first child, maternal blood, may be exposed to the Rh blood from the fetus. As a result, the mother's immune system starts producing anti-Rh antibody. So as a result, what happened? Anti-Rh antibody can cross the placenta and attack the Rh positive fetal baby, that is baby, causing erythroblastosis fetalis, which is severe anemia, jaundice, or fatal complications in the fetus. So, what is the prevention here? Administrator anti-Rh antibodies, immunoglobulin to the Rh negative mother immediately after the first delivery. Next, we have blood clotting. So, what is the major purpose of the blood clotting here? So, blood clotting prevents the excessive blood loss following an injury or after trauma. Then, clotting formation, how it happens? A dark reddish brown serum, which clots after at the site of injury. The clot mainly constituents of network of what? Fibrin thread that actually traps the damaged formed elements, that is RBC, WBC, and platelets. So, how the process? Fibrin formation will happen first. So, inactive fibrinogen in plasma will be present that becomes active fibrin by the reaction of the thrombin, an enzyme. So thrombin formation, inactive protothrombin in plasma will be present. So this active thrombin will leads to thrombokinesis. So this thrombokinesis enzyme complex, what happens? Formed through a cascade reaction involving multiple clotting factors. Then initiation of the coagulation. Platelets released clotting factors upon injury. Then tissues at the injury site also release factors to activate the clotting mechanism. Role of calcium ions. Calcium is essential for various steps in the coagulation process. So formation of the tissue fluid. Capillary exchange is one thing. So in capillary exchange, what happens? So a blood flows through the capillaries in tissues. Some water and small water soluble substances moves out into the space between the tissue cells. Contains tissue fluid also, then contains the same mineral distribution as plasma. Large proteins and most formed elements remains in the blood vessels. So function of the tissue fluid is acts as a medium for exchange of what is the function of tissue fluid? It acts as a medium for exchange of nutrients, gas, and waste between the blood and the cell. Lymphocytic cell or a system where the tissue fluid is collected by the lymphatic vessels and returns to the major veins. The fluid in the lymphatic system is actually called as lymph. So, what is the composition here? Colorless fluid with specialized lymphocytes, immune cell. Then the lymphocytes are crucial for the immune response. Functions of the lymphocytes helps in protecting the body against the infection. Then carry the nutrients, hormones, and other substances, transports fat absorbed from the intestine as well as lactase in the villi. So, key role in absorption is fat and fat soluble substances are absorbed through the lymphatic vessels called lacteals in the intestinal villi. The next we have circulatory pathway. So here we have two types of pathway. One is open and another one is closed. So in open circulatory system found in arthropods, molluscs, blood flows through the open space. In closed circulatory system found in annelids, chordates, blood flows through the closed network of the vessels. Advantages allows precise regulation of the blood flow, then heart structure in vertebrates, like in fishes, what happens? You have two chambered heart, one is atrium and one is ventricles. In blood circulation, single circulation, deoxygenated blood oxygenated by the gills and circulated. Then amphibians and reptile, except in crocodile, what happened? Three chambered heart will be present, two artery, one ventricle. So circulation is incomplete, double circulation you can see, where mixture of oxygenated, deoxygenated blood in the ventricles. Whereas in crocodile blood and mammals, we have four chambered heart, two auricles and two ventricles. So circulation, double circulation, where separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are compared, separated. So this is the circulation pathway in detail with fish, then an incomplete double circulation in amphibians and reptiles, and double circulation in birds and mammals. How normally this happens, a kind of flow chart. So that we will discuss in detail anyhow. So structure of heart is that located in the thoracic cavity, slightly tilted to the left. Chamber, two artery and two veins we will have. So artery is something that receives the blood, and ventricle is something which pumps out the blood. So it could be oxygenated or deoxygenated. Then we have veins. So that actually ensures the direction of the blood. So we have three veins here anyhow. So this is just an additional information. And types of blood vessels like arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries, as I told, they carry the oxygenated blood away from the heart, thick wall to withstand high pressure. So veins, they are carry deoxygenated blood to the heart. Then veins prevents backflow of the blood. Then we have as capillaries. So thin walled vessels connecting arteries and veins, and this actually facilitates the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste product. So yeah, coming to the structure of heart, which is located in the thoracic cavity between the two lungs, slightly tilt to the left, as I have told you before. About the size, it is chunced fist. That means if you say just this fist, only this much of size, it will be having. Then protective coverage enclosed by the double walled membrane bag, which is actually called as pericardium. Then pericardial fluid will be present, which protects the heart from the mechanical shock. Then heart chamber as four chamber heart. One is upper chamber, lower chamber. Upper chamber, we have two small artery, which is right and left, as you can see here. Then in lower chamber, again we have two larger ventricles. Then septum, inner arterial septum and inner interventricular septum is present. Interarterial septum separates the right and left arc, and we have inner ventricle septum which separates the right and left ventricles. Vacuoles of the artery, ventricles, valves. So what happens here is we have tricuspid valve, so which between the right atrium and right ventricle, whereas mitral valve, so which is between the left atrium and the left ventricle. So semi lunar valves, where they actually guard the opening of the ventricles to the pulmonary arteries and aorta. So major function is it allows the blood flow in one direction only, and it prevents the backward flow. So then we have the structure that is heart wall and the cardiac musculature. So made up of the cardiac muscles, ventricular walls are thick than arterial walls. So nodal tissues and condensation system will be present. There are specialized cardiac tissue distributed in the heart, enabled condition, then composed of the nodal system. Then we have seen SAN, which is located in the upper right corner of the right atrium. So generates the maximum action potential, that is 70 to 75 per minute, acts as a natural pacemaker, pumping of the heart I'm talking. Then we have AVN, that is atrioventricular node. So located in the lower left corner of the right atrium near the atrioventricular septum. Then AV bundle is also present, which continues on the AVN, that is uh, atrioventricular node, passes through the atrioventricular septum, divide into right and left bundles. Then Purkinje fibers will be also present. So there are the minute fibers bands from the what do you say that atrioventricular bundles and distributed throughout the ventricles. Along with the atrioventricular bundles forms a bundle of His. Then exitable nature, that is exitable nature where nodal tissue generate action potential independently without any external pressure or something, where SAN initiates and maintains the rhythm contraction of the heart. Heartbeat, as I told, 70 to 75 beats per minute. Then average count is 72. Cardiac cycle coordinates, contracts, and relax the blood flow. So here we comes with the cardiac cycle. So in cardiac cycle, what happened? All the four chambers are relaxed during its initial phase. Then tricuspid and bicuspid valves are opened. Then some, this SV, they are closed. Then the blood flow from the pulmonary veins, then to the left atrium, then left ventricle, one vena cava, right atrium to the right ventricle. We have atrial systole, that is, sinoatrial node generates an action potential. Both atria contract simultaneously. This contraction pushes 30% more blood in the ventricules. Ventricular systole, you have right. So that receives the action potential from the SAN. Signal transmission is through the AV bundle and bundle of His and the Purkinje fibers. So what are the events that you will be observing here is ventricles contract, increases ventricular pressure. Then we have this thing that is called as tricupids and biscupids waves close to prevent the black flow into the atrio, and semilunar veils are also present, which open due to the higher pressure, allow the blood to flow. So one is through the right ventricles, that is pulmonary arteries, and to the lungs, then left ventricles, aorta, and body. So what is the sound? Lub-dub is actually the sound. And cardiac cycle duration is 0.8 second. Normal heartbeat is 72 heartbeats, that's what, per minute. And stroke volume and cardiac output will also be there. That is, stroke volume is 70 ml of blood pumped by each ventricle per cycle. Cardiac output is volume of the blood pumped by each ventricle per minute. Formula: stroke volume into heart volume. This is very important. So where, see, if you have the average 500 ml of 5 liters per minute in a healthy individual, adaptability is like stroke volume and heart rate can adjust based on physical activities. Next we have ECG. So that is electrocardiograph. So an electrocardiograph is a machine used to record the electric activity of the heart during the cardiac cycle. Then the graph output is actually called as electrocardiogram. So where three electrical leads are attached, one to each wrist and one to the left ankle, and a standard ECG focus on basic heart activity. Say like here you can see the P wave right here. So it represents arterial depolarization or electrical extensions of the atria leads to arterial contraction. Then QRS, this one complex, it represents ventricular depolarization. Then we have T, right? So T well represents ventricular repolarization, that is returning to its normal state. Marks the end of the systole. Heart rate determination is by counting the number of QRS complements in the given time. Clinical significance, general shape of the ECG is similar across individual for an given lead configuration. Then derivatives from the normal pattern may indicate heart abnormalities or diseases. Then ECG is an important diagnostic tool in the clinical medicine. Coming to the double circulation here and regulation of the cardiac activity and its disorder. Concept is double circulation. Double circulation actually refers to the two distinct pathway in which the blood circulates in the body. So one is pulmonary circulation and the second one is systemic circulation. So in pulmonary circulation, what happens here is you can see the pulmonary in the pulmonary circulation. So we have what? Right ventricles, right? So that normally pumps the deoxygenated blood into pulmonary arteries and blood transfer that to the lungs and where it gets oxygenated. So from deoxygenated to oxygenated. So oxygenated blood is carried now by the pulmonary veins where into the left atrium, this one. So now in the systemic circulation, where now the left atrium, where it pumps the oxygenated blood into the aorta and from where the blood is transferred to the different parts of the tissue cells through arteries, arterioles, and capillaries. And now, what happens again? You are seeing something called deoxygenated blood. It again return back to wait again after the cells and all. It will again return back to heart through the ventrals, veins, and vena cava, entering where again the right atrium. Okay. So, what is the function of the systemic circulation here is it delivers the nutrients, oxygen, and other essential components to the tissue, then removes the waste products such as carbon dioxide and harmful substances that are being eliminated from the body. Hepatic portal system, where a unique vascular system between the digestive as well as liver. So the hepatic portal vein carries the blood from the intestine to the liver for processing before it enters the systemic circulation. If something that is there still which can be absorbed by a body, that is done that. Then we have is coronal circulation, a special system that circulates the blood to what? What do you say that? A system ensures that the art itself receives the necessary oxygen and nutrients to the function. So regulation of the cardiac activity, it is the heart is mycogenic, that is its activity is auto-regulated by the specialized cardiac muscles. The heart can regenerate its own rhythmic contraction. Then neural regulation, it is by the neural central in the medulla oblongata moderates this cardiac activity. Then we have autonomic nervous system, which plays a key role here, like synaptic nervous system, which increases the heart rate, ensures the strength of ventricular contraction, boosts the cardiac output. Then we have uh, parasympathetic nervous system, which reduces the heart rate, slows down, this action potential conduction, and increases what? Cardiac output. Hormonal regulation is by adrenal medulla. Adrenaline increases the heart rate and cardiac output. So these are some of the disorders associated with the circulatory system. High blood pressure, which we normally called as hypertension. So one thing, hypertension is when blood pressure is high than normal. Typically, this is what it is. So it has been measured by systolic pressure, which is 120 mmHg, the pressure where the heart pumps blood, and diagnostic pressure is 80 mmHg. Okay. Then how you are going to diagnose it? The blood pressure constantly 140 per 99 mmHg or higher is considered as the hypertension, and the consequences will lead to the high blood pressure can lead to heart disorder or heart diseases and damage the organs like brain and kidney. Then we have as coronary artery diseases. So one thing is occurs when there are if there is any deposition of the calcium, fat, or cholesterol and fibrous tissues in the arteries that supplies the blood to the heart. So what is the effect? So if the deposition happens, it will restricts the blood flow, right, to the heart muscles, which can lead to heart problem. Next, aging. So one thing is aging is a sharp chest pain that occurs when there is an insufficient oxygen supply in the heart muscles. Anging. So it is actually called as anging. The next one is angina. So in angina, what happens is it is a sharp chest pain that occurs when there is a insufficient oxygen supply in the heart muscles. Then we have a prevalence, so where angina can affect individual of any age. It could be middle age or elder age. So major causes is it typically result in the conditions such as affecting blood flow to the heart, such as like uh, if there is no proper blood flow that happens, so that could also leads to pain. So one is atherosclerosis is something that actually it causes. Then heart failure is another one, where heart failure refers to the condition where the heart is unable to pump the blood effectively to meet the body needs. Symptoms is lung con so one is this can lead to the heart failure as lung congestions due to the fluid builded in the lungs, leading to the shortness of the breathing. Then one thing is heart failure is actually different from the this cardiac arrest. So cardiac arrest is immediately when heart stop beating, where heart attack and an heart attack. Okay. So heart attack is it happens when the heart muscles is damaged by insufficient body supply. So heart failure is a chronic condition where a heart weakness over a time. So this was all about body fluid and its circulation. So regarding this, if you feel any doubt, you can contact me through the comment section or through the Telegram channel. Very important thing is do not forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you.